To Walk in the Shadows, An Introduction to Divine Darkness Yoga by Matty Fallux. Prologue. Our hearts see only darkness. There was a time in my life in which I feared the dark. To be in a room which was unlit was like being in hell, the terror of being surrounded by the unseen presence of evil. Even being near an unlit room, a darkened hallway perhaps, was the limit of endurance. I would stare into the blackness, unblinking, waiting for confirmation that something was indeed going to lunge at me and drag me into the shadows it came from. Sleepless nights spent staring wide-eyed around my bedroom, or worse, an unfamiliar bedroom. These nights were the norm for me as a child. Staying awake well past midnight with nothing to do but contemplate my own death, and worse, meditations on damnation, and the sorts of agonies the undying damned could be forced to endure. There are demons here, in the darkness where we lay our frail bodies each night. No blanket fort, no teddy bear could protect me. Only vigilance would. Only my chance to scream in the moments before the hideous beast just beyond my sight could strike. My dreams were no sanctuary from this fear. There, the demons could find me so much easier. Feverish, adrenaline-fueled sprints through filthy labyrinths. The pursuit is always an illusion. The demons are always so close behind that they can snatch you as fast as they please. Run as far, as fast as you can. They are a blink away from lifting you from the ground and flying into the night. Screaming, I am pulled into a pit of tar which squeezes and suffocates me. I awake, still screaming. I feel the dream still affecting me. I shake it off, only to find myself in a dark room again, alone, but for the snores of the sleeping around me. I feel electricity in my blood. Sleep is over. Now it is only for me to wait in the silence for the rising sun. Years pass there, alone. Finally the sky seems to wake, and I am able to sleep for a time. I'm exhausted. My fear of the dark has changed my ability to perform as a student, to communicate, even to think straight. My emotions are raw. I overreact and underreact. Nobody can predict me. I am alone here in the sun as well, and it dawns on me that the darkness of my dreams is always there with me. It lives in me. My heart is a haunted house. The phantoms there live with me always. Once, as a child, those phantoms frightened me beyond belief. Today, I walk with nothing but love in my heart for the shadowy beings who live there. I have found, after many years of searching, a deep peace and kinship with the shadow world within me. I have learned to love and worship the darkness. I see the blackness for its limitless power of creation and potential. I see that growth occurs in darkness so that life can flourish in the sun. I see that the sun created me, that I hold that light within me always, and I see that there is room for heaven, hell, and all of existence within my own heart. I have felt the call of the divine darkness, and I hope to impart my love of that darkness to you. I will take my love and use it to write this book for you, because I want you to lay in bed tonight, wrapped in perfect black, and feel the way darkness holds you in a perfect embrace. I want you to walk the chambers of darkness within your heart, and meet the beings who live down there, and learn to love them for the beautiful part of you that they are. This is not a kind of yoga you may be familiar with, but I assure you this yoga is as deep and ancient as the water in your blood. Yoga is a Sanskrit word. It can be translated as yoke, or more accurately, union. Divine Darkness Yoga is a philosophy which seeks a perfect unity between the many different forms and bodies of the self. You are a multitude, a legion, a trans-dimensional entity with the creation power of a god and the imagination to back it up. I want to lead you into your own darkness and show you that no evil lives there, only pure, raw energy, limitless potential power, incorruptible when harnessed with honesty, and yours entirely for the taking. This is not a simple path, nor is it for the weak of spirit and character. But if you are ready to stop screaming in fear at the phantoms you are haunted by, you must be prepared to walk into their territory, to speak to them with respect as your equal, and to show them that you are prepared finally to listen to them speak, to sit with them, and to love them for what they are. Are you afraid of the dark? Perhaps not, if you have read this far already. Or perhaps you simply no longer want to be. Perhaps you know that the shadows within are a part of you. I hope I can help you remember how to love them the way you deserve to be loved. Because perhaps the most important thing I've learned in my life is how to love the darkness inside of me, and that is what I wish for you as well. This is your introduction to the divine darkness. Chapter 1. To Walk in the Shadows. Mount Everest is the tallest graveyard on Earth. To scale its massive peak is to cross the final resting place of countless bodies left in a rotless state in the cold. Upon reaching the summit, you will find a shrine of litter and garbage, random trinkets and photographs left there carelessly by climbers who believe they have conquered something and that they are entitled to contributing to the pile of garbage. This mountain is of course sacred to the indigenous people of Tibet, who call the mountain Chomolungma, meaning Holy Mother. The level of entitlement and borderline contempt with which the mountain is treated by the many tourists seeking to climb the Holy Mother is indicative of a very major problem we deal with in the West, that is, fear of the darkness. That is to say, the shadow self within us all is something so massively frightening to some that they would sooner hike past a pile of corpses to reach a pile of garbage than they would ever dare to explore the chambers of the soul. To enter into one's own heart, to meet the residents therein, takes a kind of courage unlike any other. Long before Superman and Spider-Man held dominance, a superhero named the Shadow reigned the pulpy kingdoms and radio plays of his time. Each week, everyone tuning in to the latest radio broadcast of his adventures would hear the announcer's legendary intro. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. The Shadow knows indeed. The shadow within you knows everything about you, every single thing you have ever done, thought, felt, wished, feared, the twisted fantasies, the dark urges, the violent thoughts, yes, but also the secret regrets, the lonely sorrows, the many hopes and dreams that keep you moving forward. The shadow is the self beneath the self, our record on eternity. The shadow craves connection with you, craves connection to the earth at large. The shadow seeks experiences and sensation, and it seeks to serve you. Whatever you ask for, the shadow will provide. This can be our greatest joys or our deepest fears. The shadow doesn't bother with concepts of morality like we on earth must. Good and evil are not eternal things. They are mortal creations. Consider that the cause for losing access to the paradise of Eden was not the eating of the forbidden fruit, but rather the knowledge of good and evil which came from doing so. The awareness and understanding of evil is an earthly symptom of having a life and wanting to keep it. The shadow, however, always remembers the contract we have with the Reaper. Life only happens for a flash of time, and our goal while we still have breath in our lungs is to create as much meaning as we can with the time we are given. Evil and good are ego concepts, characteristics that we apply to things subjectively and sometimes quite arbitrarily. To call one experience good and another bad is a very personal thing to which we as a society have attempted to normalize. A ride on a roller coaster, for instance, is commonly seen as good by the thousands of people globally who strap themselves in each day. But for the thousands of people who feel fear and or nausea at the thought of riding one, a coaster is less than good, and perhaps downright bad. Now replace that roller coaster with literally anything, and then survey each of the billions of living humans about it. I assure you, there is not one element of the human experience which is universally loved, nor is anything universally hated. It's a big damn universe after all. I have met people who hate being alive, as I'm sure you have. People who hate the concept of food or sleep. I've also met people who love violence. I've shaken hands with killers of men who felt glad for what they had done. I've met people from all corners of the world, with each of them carrying an entire universe of experience and opinion with them. To call any part of the human experience universal, besides the actual experience of being born human and someday dying human too, this is a lack of perspective which seeks to simplify what is in fact the most complex thing in all creation, the sentient entity, the human being. Here we are together, writer and reader, speaker and listener, teacher and learner. We are human, probably both Homo sapiens, but I feel human and person are not just for the sapiens of Earth. We see trillions of stars in our night sky. I feel it is safe to believe there are other people out there struggling with the same sort of battles we do. The shadow lives beyond the universe of stars and form, in a dark corner of reality beyond the veil of time. Before the explosion of light and matter created this physical realm, there was only eternal darkness. From that darkness we were born, and to that darkness we will all return. Will you live and die in fear or in joy? The shadow is happy to accommodate you with either choice you make, every single time you make it. If you are ready to break bread with that shadow of yours, to face your true fears and sit in the dark with them, then you are ready to begin to truly live a life of meaning and purpose. This is the gift the divine darkness will give us as a reward for our courage. For those ready, read on. Chapter 2. To worship the night, to sleep, to dream. The term yoga in the American lexicon has come to stand for a kind of fitness routine, an alternative to cardio work and weightlifting. In fact, the physical exercise practiced in most modern studios is a shadow of a complete practice. You could practice yoga all day, every day, and never once fold or lengthen a muscle, as yoga is a state of being, not a stretching routine. Divine darkness is primarily an internal practice, meaning the bulk of the work does not require the use of a human body. This is spirit yoga, work to be done in your vast inner universe. Take a second and think of a location you would like to be right now. Some city or wilderness perhaps, any place you call to mind. Visualize yourself there. Imagine the sights, the smells, the food. If there will be people there, who are they? Are you exploring, or is this a place that you know intimately? Take a moment now and visit this place in your mind for a spell, if you'd like. Note the level of detail you are able to conjure. Some people who have maintained a good imagination practice into adulthood may be able to visualize a perfect recreation in their mind. Others will feel as though their mind is incapable of this feat, to which I challenge you to actually practice daily instead of merely resigning yourself. Remember that this isn't just about being able to see in your mind. Some of my readers won't be able to physically see at all. This is about learning to imagine a world that flows with your perception, to transport yourself to one of the created chambers of your mind. Think of your dreams. Do you still remember them? Some will claim they do not dream, to which I assure you that you do. The brain needs dream space, to the point that missing out on REM sleep, the state of dreaming, will literally kill a person after only a few nights. The brain will simply cease functioning without occasional trips to dream space. If you don't recall your own dreams, it doesn't mean you aren't having them. It only means that you have lost the practice of recall, and that you can work your way back to that with some labor. For those of us with at least partial recall, you know that when you are in that dream state, it feels more real than reality. Fantasy characters and places fuse with memories of Earth, and nothing in that space is truly impossible. Literally every single thing you have ever perceived, conceived, or believed, it's all within you. Every star in the sky has been logged in your vast storage banks. Every great gap in space you have thought about has pushed the bounds of your inner universe that much further. When we practice worship of the divine darkness, we do so from within ourselves. To first transport ourselves to that inner universe, and then we remember that even the concept of inner is an illusion. As above, so below. All is one, meaning you have only ever been in your own inner universe. You may share the world with billions of humans, but ultimately, you always will and always have existed in a subjective world of your own creation. You can collaborate with others, sometimes without your consent, but ultimately your perception of reality is your own. The good news of being alive: you have perfect, limitless free will. You have the power to create anything, and a world of limitless resources with which to work. The bad news of being alive: everyone else has the same free will, access to the same resources, and many of these people have guns. I can't promise you the power to become bulletproof. You will simply have to navigate the people you meet as they cross your path. What I can teach, however, is how to enjoy yourself while you are here, regardless of the boxes your fellow humans will try to shove you into. This is what I seek to teach: regaining control of our own reality by focusing on shifting perception, breaking illusory binaries, and returning the human spirit to a flowing, natural state. We are creations, and we are imbued with the power of creation. We seek the limitless potential of the darkness, the pitch black of the womb from which we emerged, the black of the earth in which sprouts the seed, that abyss which exists within us. Look to the people who have taught you to fear the darkness within you. See them for what they are. Recognize that the fear others have of their own darkness is contagious, and quarantine yourself from their toxicity. It is time to turn off all the lights and walk into the night of the soul. Chapter 3: To Make a Covenant with Death. When you were born, you were given a candle and sent into a darkened maze. That candle is built for one purpose only: to burn. So long as it burns, you are free to walk around and explore the labyrinth. Someday, however, that candle will snuff out. Prematurely or not, the only promise you can count on in this labyrinth is that there will be a day in which that candle no longer lights your life. Death is inevitable. Death comes for us all. To live with that knowledge is a heavy burden to some, heavy enough that they will do anything to distract them from that truth. For we, the residents of the divine dark, it is the sort of promise which makes life worth living. Perhaps you don't believe in deities. That is your freedom. For myself, it would be easier to deny my own existence than to deny the presence of divine entities ruling this world. I have simply seen too much evidence that this is a world ruled over by powers far beyond human comprehension or measurement. My faith is unshakable. I believe there are gods of passion, sorrow, pleasure, gods of storms, of clouds, of rain. The Lord of the gods on this earth, though, is the God of death, as he is the only God that all will eventually bow their head for. To walk in the divine darkness is to make a covenant with death, to make peace with our own mortality. We don't simply accept death, we embrace him. We find little ways each day to meditate on our eventual demise. In fact, the only asana we revere in divine darkness practice is savasana, corpse pose. Try this exercise. Start on the floor in corpse pose, flat on the back, legs slightly apart, arms splayed with palms up. Place a bolster or a pillow under your knees if you feel a strain in your lower back, an indication of atrophied hip flexors, and use a pillow under your head. Comfort is paramount, so give yourself the accommodations you need to lay as motionless as possible. This exercise is best done alone in a darkened room. The darker, the better. I prefer pitch black for my practice. Breathe freely in corpse pose for a few minutes. Focus on relaxing and releasing tension. Begin taking deep breaths. Gulp the air in large bursts, filling the belly and chest as full and as fast as you can without hurting yourself or getting excessively dizzy. Think of the gasping breaths you take in with a sudden splash of icy water or after something startles you. Fill the lungs, then release. Do not push the air out again. Take the next breath before you have pushed the first one out. 20 to 30 of these gulping breaths will have you feeling a deep warmth. This is when you want to take one last big breath in and release completely. Let your breath slowly release from your lungs completely, and try and take yourself as long without inhaling as you can stand, and maybe a few seconds past. Feel the sensation of your body fighting to survive, and try and push past that. Imagine yourself as a corpse on a table. Imagine your body as an empty vessel. Imagine yourself saying goodbye. Remember that a day will come when your body is a corpse, left to return to the earth without you in it. Imagine yourself saying goodbye to it, thanking it for the good times, for carrying you so lovely through this strange world. Take yourself to your limit, then a single step beyond. Then, when you are ready, take another massive gulping breath as though you have resurrected yourself. Fill the lungs as full as you can and hold again, this time for only a few moments. Release the air, then repeat the process at least twice more. Focus as hard as you can on experiencing your own lifeless corpse. Imagine what death would be like with awareness. Then try to imagine yourself as separate from your body completely. The clawing feeling you have in that moment of animal panic can teach you more than any studio yoga session ever will. This is a similar mechanism to the drowning simulation of classic baptism, but this is a practice you can do every day, a little daily death and rebirth, accessible, free of charge. There is no greater affirmation of life than to touch the cloak of the Grim Reaper. Nothing will make you want to tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. Nothing will make food taste like a holy gift. Nothing will make the sight of sunlight bring tears to your eyes, like the knowledge that someday a sunrise will happen without you. This world is a love poem written just for you, and only the knowledge of death can really bring a knowledge of life which allows us to go beyond merely existing on this globe to actively worshiping and revering it. For the love of death, we find love of life. To remember that this existence is a flash of cosmic time, a bubble in the foam, a teardrop in the rain. That is the one thing which can slow the rocket to the grave most people feel strapped to. Eternal life on earth is impossible, because not even the earth we came from is eternal. Someday, even the very world will bow to death. But a loving worship of the darkness within can give us access to new dimensions, places beyond time. Eternity can exist within you as you walk the earth. I have lived for centuries by now, though my body was born only decades ago. I have walked here in the valley of the shadow of death all these years. The closer I have brought myself to my final breath, the more time I have found to revel in the filthy, bizarre, confounding, and occasionally evil world we have here. The more beauty I have taught myself to see in the things I was told to hate and fear, the greater my life has become. I wish for you, dear reader, to feel as profoundly alive as possible, to feel as though you have made the choice to live every single day. That is a freedom that can never be taken from you. Chapter 4. To Dance with the Dead. You have never been alone in your entire life. Not truly. Lonely, I'm sure, but never truly alone. We walk on graves every day, in the forms of legacies left behind. The clothes you wear, the inventions you use, the beliefs in your mind, these are all things which took millions of years of human development to create. The humble potato, something which seems to miraculously grow no matter how badly they've been farmed, is a human invention, perfected by Peruvian indigenous people thousands of years before colonization. Most of the food we eat, starting with the basics like fruit and veggies, are inventions like this. Even the most basic of inventions, like the concept of walls and doors, had to be brought into existence by human hands. The very words I am using to transfer this concept to you are inventions, the result of an entire species working diligently to have and share deeply complex concepts. This is why I always have to interrupt other yoga teachers who decry technology, to remind them not only are there stretchy yoga pants and fancy exercise mats technology, but that even further, yoga itself is a technology. The concepts that we touch while working on yoga might be eternal, but without yoga concepts, language, and practice, very few of the depths we can explore would be available to us. The thoughts you have are based on thousands of years of inventions and discoveries. Your inner monologue is built on words that had to be crafted and honed across a vast etymological evolution over hundreds of generations. No part of you is separate from the world and people around you, both the living and the dead. In fact, the amount of dead people you interact with daily is always going to be disproportionately higher than the amount of living people. This is a world of ghosts, ruled by the dead. Archaic customs and beliefs dominate us, systems of human control which operate above the heads of every person yoked to them. The machine of human oppression is something like a deity, created long before any of us were born, existing beyond human intervention, and haunting every single dark corner of our experience. To live in the USA, as I do, or really in any historically colonized land, is to live on land stained with blood. The conquering men who destroyed the paradise which once flourished across Turtle Island, the First Nations people's name for the continent of North America, did so according to customs which existed far before their time. The legacy of colonization which has defined Europe for as long as Europe has existed, itself existed long before even the Roman Empire 2 millennia ago. The concept that might makes right has led to countless deaths. By creating a division between meek and mighty, in fact, by drawing any sort of binary line between any part of the human spectrum, we create a category of subhuman. Propaganda is defined as being any effort to categorize a group of humans as being anything but human, because it is much easier to sleep at night believing that our enemies are nothing like us. This violent legacy of division is yet another army of ghosts we must battle with in this life. Shadow work makes racism impossible, for the person aligned with their own shadow can soon see the shadow of everyone else. And if there is love for the darkness within yourself, that love becomes universal. To see that all of humanity is a single mind, and that all of humanity has a single shadow self, is to see that you are intimately and inseparably connected to every single human who ever was, who ever is, and who ever will be. Every house is haunted. Every object is sacred. Every thought is collaborative. This is a ghost world, this graveyard earth, and someday we will become ghosts ourselves. Our bodies are built with corpses. The flesh of plants and animals is ripped to shreds by exposed bone, dissolved in acid, and then slathered on our bodies to sustain us. Our beliefs are no different. torn from the lives that ended long before our birth and applied to our soul like mortar on a brick wall. We use the dead to fuel life, and in turn, we leave parts of ourselves on earth after we leave it, to be consumed and repurposed as well. This is why I say that death is the god of this world, beneath only the very spirit of the universe which created and holds the world. This earth is death's kingdom. We are eternal creatures passing through it, and paying the high price of admission. Going further, to the strange nature of time itself, we see that death is both absolute reality and absolute illusion. The moment you exist in right now, the one in which you are taking a breath, has always existed. One single, unbroken moment, stretched across the entirety of eternity. This is an ancient yogic concept, more recently named by Einstein as special relativity, that time is a dimension of space which we experience one segment at a time, but which is happening all at once. Imagine a novel which follows a protagonist from the moment of birth to the moment of death, and which covers every element of their life. To experience the book, we must read it one page, one word at a time. In this manner, we would watch an entire life play out, but that life already exists in its entirety within the book. We, the reader, can see the entire shape of that life from outside. This is how human life unfolds, already a fully written book which we are reading one page, one word at a time. This means that at this very moment, everything everywhere is happening all at the same time. Presuming this physical universe started with the Big Bang and will end in heat death, then according to special relativity, it will all occur simultaneously. Imagine a single light bulb turning on and back off in the instant flick of a switch. That all of time and space existed in a flash which lasted less than a second, but that within that flash was an entire infinity of life, chaos, and death. On a timeline which exists all at once, there is no death. Einstein is alive right now, presenting this concept to the world. The authors of the 5,000-year-old sutras and epics which form the yoga philosophy are right now in the present moment meditating on the very concepts they taught me years ago, and about which I now write these words. And somewhere in the future I will never know, you are reading these words as I write them. I can feel you reading over my shoulder. Can you feel me there with you? Chapter 5. To Break Bread with Devils. Your heart is a tower, a vast space in which everything you have ever witnessed on earth or in dreams exists. You have never left this tower. You never will. At the bottom, in the deepest, darkest depths, there be dragons. These demonic entities are familiar to you in ways you may not want to admit to yourself. They are guardians, designed by you to take on horrifying shapes, to keep you from walking too far into your own abyss. Perhaps a cold shiver runs down your spine right now to even think of them. That is a sign that they have done their jobs with exceptional fervor and talent. Our goal in Divine Darkness practice is to meet these demons where they are, to show them the respect that powerful entities such as them deserve, and to find communion with them. Perhaps I sound like a madman, or pure evil to you for suggesting this. I assure you, the truly evil of this world fear their demons more than anything else. The truly good have made kinship with those demons. This is the fabled inner peace which eludes so many. These demons have been written about for centuries. Socrates compared them to the voice of the divine. These voices you know well. More modern interpretations paint them as a devil and angel sitting on your shoulders. They guide you away from perceived or real dangers, but they can also accidentally lead you right into danger as well. In fact, the level of care they are able to provide you is directly proportional to the level of respect you show them to begin with. This is why Divine Darkness teaches us to break bread with them. These entities are separate from you, but they spring from you. If you close your eyes in darkness and imagine yourself walking in their domain, they will find you. And if you speak to them with love, they will become love. If you speak to them with contempt, if you treat them as pests to be conquered, they will meet that energy too. There is a prevailing belief that demons must be killed, that the shadows must be vanquished. This is much like growing a garden while at war with the very roots of your plants. So long as you live, so do your demons, so does your shadow. Perhaps this feels like bad news to you. That is your choice to perceive it that way. But consider this. There are microscopic bugs crawling all over you right now, trillions of them. They cover your skin, they live in your pores, they are inside your body, living in your guts and eating your food. Every time you kiss someone, millions of bugs from your lips and mouth intermingle with millions of their bugs. You can hate this fact all you want, deny it, and hide in your limited perception. You can douse yourself in chemical irritants, you can cry and beg, you can try to crawl out of your own skin. But those bugs are part of you. You would die without them. In the same manner, these unseen but highly influential demons are a part of you that is foundational. Cringing at them is only creating suffering for yourself. Spend that energy elsewhere and save yourself the trouble. When you go to bed tonight, turn on the darkness as deep as it goes for you. No little lights should be on. The light from outside should be blocked, and your eyes can even be covered to aid this. Find the darkest darkness you can and place yourself in the center. Go to bed early if you have to, so you can have some time to think all the thoughts you won't listen to during the day. Myself, I am asleep within moments of my head hitting the pillow each night. Where once I could spend hours tossing and turning, feeling my brain burning like a bonfire, now I have only thoughts of comfort and contentment. I have learned to hear my thoughts as they form. When I used to spend my days ignoring them, only to find I just cued them for later. There is a great freedom to be found just witnessing your own thoughts as they come. But until you reach that point, it's good to practice it at night. Don't try to stop thinking. That will only make you think harder. Just be present there in the dark of your room. Feel the company of your demons around you. Remember that thoughts can't be evil. Only actions can be. If you are thinking something which hurts you, recall the source of all your thoughts as yourself and try to witness without judgments. No part of this work will be easy at first, but trust me when I say that avoiding the work is much harder to do. I believe that shadow work is required, but that doing it before death is optional. Visions of hell have always been visions of the inner world, because one that is left mismanaged will become a place of barbarity and terror. To deny ourselves the witnessing of the effects trauma has had on us is to create further trauma. Psychosis is the attempt to rationalize some thoughts as real and others as fake, rather than just taking them as they come. The real horror of this existence is realizing that everything is real, and nothing is the only thing that doesn't exist. A nihilist might try to convince you that the world is mostly empty space, but the yogi and the quantum physicist both will tell you that emptiness isn't actually real. Zero is a theoretical number, and reality is the strangest thing you can ever imagine. So next time you are in the blackness of night, and a hideous form appears before you, try and consider the respect you would treat a fellow human with, regardless of any facial deformities they had. Reevaluate the ways you treat ugly things, and soon you will find yourself surrounded only by beauty. Treat yourself as divine, and your darkness as a temple, and you will make heaven out of hell. Chapter 6. To forge ourselves in the fires of hell. Divine darkness, to boil it down to a core philosophy, is a system of spiritual fortification. It is a perspective which envisions the human soul as a formless, eternal force, being given form by its interaction with the physical, mortal universe. An unstoppable force colliding with an immovable object. An explosion of emotional shrapnel which started when you first screamed amniotic fluid from your lungs, and which ends someday with your final ragged breaths and goodbyes. You were a spirit before you were a person, and what you become after this life is over will be formed by the time you spent here. As hard as you may be trying to escape Earth, there is another part of you from a different dimension who wants nothing more than life on Earth. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. So, what we must do to escape Earth, seemingly paradoxically, is to embrace Earth fully. Indulge in this bountiful banquet of experience. Take what you can and leave behind the rest. Loving the shadow within us is the difference between suffering and serenity. To find meaning while we are here is the meaning. We aren't asking life what the meaning is. Life is asking us what our meaning is. Having a purpose is the only path out of suffering. Viktor Frankl, perhaps one of the most important minds of the 20th century, was a Nazi concentration camp survivor. After his time in Auschwitz came to an end, he wrote perhaps one of the greatest books in human history, a brief and exceptionally powerful volume called Man's Search for Meaning. During his time in Hell on Earth, Frankl discovered that the prisoners who kept their eyes on a future beyond their misery were more likely to survive the horrors around them, while those who lived only in memories of a past they couldn't get back were more likely to crumble from the agony around them. Survival was assured for no prisoner, of course, but less so for those who had lost their meaning of life. If your meaning is tied up in mortal things, like the lives of your loved ones, then your meaning is subject to mortality itself and can be killed. But if your meaning of life is focused on the things which cannot die, such as the pursuit of spiritual contentment or wisdom, then the horrors of the physical world cannot reach it. So when we give and receive love with and from other people, it must be something which comes from the heart and not the ego. An ego is a mortal creation, formed like our physical bodies with the pulped and digested material around us. The physical body is built with food, while the ego is built with belief. This is good news, for it means the ego is malleable and can be reshaped with new beliefs. Ego death is meant to be a regular process, wherein the self exists in a state of impermanence and endless rebirth. Ego death does not mean you no longer have an ego. In fact, anyone who claims not to have an ego is actually so deep in an ego prison that they have begun to imagine the roof of their jail cell as the sky. We don't seek to kill any part of ourselves, but anyone with gardening experience will understand the importance of trimming dead parts to allow life to flourish. The fact is that hell is a mortal concept, made of mortal things. Hell is here on earth, and the only way for us to survive its fire without succumbing to madness and gnashing of teeth is to become one with the flame. To smelt our ego with the alloy of purpose and practice, to create for ourselves a suit of spiritual armor. This armor will defend us from the ego traps that snag so many of our neighbors. Covetousness, jealousy, bigotry, colonialism, violence, and disregard for life are all hallmarks of the spiritually weak, egocentrics who have gotten lost in their fear of the dark and who have decided to burn the earth as a nightlight. There is no room for bigotry in the divine darkness, for in the presence of the shadow, all are equal. To believe that there is a human alive who is not your equal is to fall from divinity and to revel in the filth of earthly evil. The divine darkness teaches us that life is sacred in all forms, and that no human is worth more or less than any other. In order for something to be a human right, it must extend to all humans without exception. Any belief that a human is less than human, or deserves less than other humans, is anti-human and anti-life. Fascism is a philosophy which maintains that some humans are born more deserving than others. Divine darkness says the exact opposite. All humans are born divine, and that divinity is what drives us to live and love the way we do when joy is in our heart. This is not to say that injustice must be witnessed passively. Quite the opposite. A deep love for humanity means that there will always be a deep sadness within us all, that this is still a mortal world, a kingdom of pain and death. It means seeing the ways that systems of human creation can take on minds of their own, and that these systems of control and violence need to be fought with systems of love and meaning. You were born in war, and your choice is to fight or die. Divine darkness is a path to fortification, to becoming unshakable by the damnation around you. To learn oneself, to know oneself, is to know the spirit of creation itself. Life is forged in darkness, and meaning is found there as well. By shedding our fear of the dark, we can begin to shed all fear. Life is found in love for death. Chapter 7. To the Depths of Madness and Beyond. The divine darkness is a place which exists within us all. The depths of our hearts are chambers filled to the brim with life and form. If we take the time to walk these dark chambers, they will begin to feel more and more like a home. If we choose to see beauty in something the world calls ugly, then we have created heaven when we were given hell. By choosing to embrace the things we were taught to reject, by seeing the inner self not as evil, but as holy, we can begin to understand that our society is built on inversions. We see this world as a feast, a table full of experience and sensation. The information we consume, much like our food, becomes a part of us. We are creations imbued with the power of creation, set loose on the world with the power to do miraculous things. Our meaning is the search for meaning. Our purpose is the creation of purpose. If we can see the power a butterfly wings have, then we can see the power our hands have as well. If we are aware that a single changed element from our past could rewrite our world, then we can see ourselves as authors of tomorrow, and our deeds and their legacy take on a new meaning to us entirely. Yoga is unity, the physical and transphysical conjoined and moving in sync. The self is seen as multidimensional, the human experience seen as a vast spectrum of time, space, and spirit. Learning to love our shadow teaches us to witness the shadow of others. Learning to love our humanity teaches us to see humanity in others, even our enemies. We practice for ourselves first, but then we learn that we are never so separate from the people of this world as to do anything purely for the self. We are in debt to those around us and those who came before us, and they are in debt to us. What we owe the world, we are owed in turn. That is, it is our responsibility to change the world around us. That is inescapable and unavoidable. Every breath you take transforms reality. You have no say in that. You can't even die without changing the world. Meaning if you are here, you are a part of Earth forevermore. You will change the world. Be changed by the world. You will consume, digest, release. What comes into contact with you will be irrevocably altered, reshaped into your image. You are surrounded by the dead at all times. The words you speak and think are haunted by the ghosts of the past. The beliefs you hold come from beyond you and form what is within you. As above, so below. What is in your shadow is what shapes the light that you shine on the world. We can see that these are concepts which can fill the hearts of many with dread. But we see that dread is a mortal thing like any other evil. We are not concerned with mortal things which trap the ego on earth. We see them as the traps they are. We see that hatred is earthly, bigotry is mundane. What is divine is seeking unity in all things, atonement with the eternity of existence. The irony is that life cannot be lived without the presence of death, and therefore to worship death is to revere life, and to fear death is to hate life. The skull-faced reaper who points his finger at everyone is the lord of this plane. Those who look to him with respect will be allowed the freedom to enjoy life as it comes. So prepare yourself, if you have read this far, to make the covenant with Lord Death, that so long as he allows you the air in your lungs, that you will worship and love the life around you which sustains you. Life feeds on life, making death the greatest friend you will ever have. The following chapter contains a meditation on the darkness. It can be read out loud or to yourself. Use this to seek unity with your shadow, to release your fears, and to begin to recreate yourself as the powerful creation spirit you were born to be. Chapter 8. To pray in pitch-black churches. Take a deep breath. At the top of your breath, feel the inhale flow into an exhale. Imagine the way the rolling tide climbs up the beach, lingers at the peak, and withdraws. Continue breathing deeply, feeling your breath rise and fall as a single motion, never stopping, never holding, just flowing. Begin to focus only on release. 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 Breathe in and release. Sigh deeply as you exhale. Imagine each sigh holds information that is irrelevant to you. Feel the release of expired emotions, worn out opinions, and rotten memories begin to release with each sigh. These sighs are invisible. You cannot see what is being released. You forget it forever as it leaves. It doesn't matter anymore. Release. You begin to feel a presence behind you. Feel two shadowy arms wrap around you in a hug. Embrace the feeling. Trust that your shadow loves you in a way no loving person ever could. Release. If you feel fear, sigh it out. Fear is no use to you right now. Feel the fear leaving you. Feel the warmth of the embrace from your shadow. Keep feeling your breath flowing like the tide, washing the pain from your heart with each sigh. Sit here for a time. Feel your shadow. Imagine you can see your shadow's face. Realize that it has your face because your shadow is you. Take a deep breath in. This time, instead of sighing, begin to say "I love you" with each exhale. I love you. I love you. I love you. With every inhale, imagine your shadow is saying "I love you" right back. I love you. I love you. I love you. I am here to witness you. I am here to love you. You are never alone. I am always with you. If you need, ask your shadow to take your fear away. Remember that darkness is where life grows. Remember that we die. Breathe deeply. Spend as long here with your shadow as you want. When you are done, say thank you. Close the practice with laughter. Fake it until it becomes real if you must. Laugh loud and hearty. Feel the joy filling the spaces left voided by whatever you released. Deep breath in, laughter out. I love you. Chapter 9. To Enter the Divine Darkness. This book serves as an introduction, but the world of shadow within you is as limitless as your imagination. I find great pleasure in the knowledge that I have an eternity within me to explore. My hope is that you have taken something from this text. I could spend many lifetimes talking about the subject matter in this text, but I have worked hard to restrain myself and give you as concise a summary as I can. My dream is that someday this text opens a much broader omnibus of my works. So profound is the divine darkness that I presume I will never run short of things to write about. I am excited to find you down here in the dark with me, and I look forward to spending more time with you here. I thank you for reading this, and I would like to dedicate this volume to every reader who has finished it and found beauty in it. I can see your shadow, because that is the shape of my shadow too. You are a miracle of life. It took billions of years to make you, and in all of infinity, there will never be another miracle quite like you. I love you. Thank you for joining me, and I will meet you again down in the darkness. This audiobook was written and read by the author, Matty Fallux. Copyright 2025 Divine Darkness Yoga. This audiobook is intended for free distribution only.